Agenda item 23, applicant Connor P. Kelly, location northwest side of South Northshore Drive, east side of Harvey Road, 42.44 acres, present zoning agricultural, zoning requested plan residential, existing land use, agricultural, forestry, vacant land. Density proposed up to 5 dwelling units per acre. Staff recommendation, approved plan residential zone up to 3 dwelling units per acre because it's consistent with the sector plan. Is the applicant present?
Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street, here for the applicant.
Do we have opposition?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And we're on 23, right? Okay. All right, would you like to proceed or defer?
I'll defer, please. Thank you.
All right. So we have a Mr. Potesta, is that right?
Yes,
Potesta?
there's actually a few.
We have Laura Purcell,
Yes.
Rosemarie Abrams.
Yes.
I think that's it. Is that right? We got 3? We got 3?
I'm Rosemary Abrams.
Okay. Do you all want to divide the time, or
How much time is there?
how about 2 minutes each if all 3 are going to speak?
Oh, 2 minutes each. Mm-hmm. Oh, boy.
We had planned on 5 minutes each. I can make mine shorter than that.
Yeah. Let's go with 2 each, or you can designate a spokesman to take all the minutes.
Yeah. We'll work it out. What do you want to do?
Okay. Okay.
We hadn't started the clock yet, so we're okay. All right.
Could we have 15 minutes?
We have rules with this body, and you asked 15, and somebody else asked 30, and where does it end? And if
Could
we
it
don't
be
have
shorter
some
than
order
that? Could it
and
be-
some rule, I gave you 6. The rules are 5, so let's
Okay.
see what 6 will get us.
Okay. Yep.
The group is asking what I take. Okay, all right. Switch up. Thank you all. That was unexpected, so if you could just give me a moment. All right, got to do this.
Just to be clear, so we won't be
Sure.
villainous up here or appear to be villainous.
Well, can my shot clock go to 5 minutes?
Yeah, we'll start the clock to 2, if we're going to have 3 speakers.
Can I have 30
But these rules have been set.
Yeah, you want to have 30
Yeah, while
seconds?
you're getting
She
that.
wants 30 seconds of the 5 minutes. Laura's going to defer
Sure.
hers to me.
We'll divide it out however you all want it, but let's be respectful of the others, because if you go over, we won't have time for the others. But these rules, to say they're unexpected, these rules have been in place for a very, very long time, so.
Okay, sure.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Now, who-
Seconds.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Abrams. you
And
may
where is
speak.
the clock? Or is there one?
Right there.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So is this cup full or empty? Okay. You are charged with being creative. You are charged with having solutions. You're charged with having a perspective, a long-range perspective. If I put rocks in this cup, all the way up to here, is the cup full? If I add sand, is the cup full? If I add water, is the cup full? Is the cup full like this? Talk to the wind. Talk to a person who puts it over their mouth and nose to keep the smoke out if they're going through a fire. It can be full. You can be creative. It can be empty. What we need is your creative perspective on the fact that we already have not considered infrastructure. We already have not considered more schooling, availability of natural infrastructure to help us out there. In the last 2 weeks, we've had 2 incidents that tied up traffic forever. One was a tree down, one was an actual collision on North Shore, right next to North Shore. Even the emergency vehicles could not get there to help people. It had to be they had to heliport people out to get help. We have many, many young drivers. The roads are not safe. We need infrastructure development before. Imagine taking this cup, putting in the water, then the sand, then the rocks. We got a mess. Please be creative. Please be helpful to our community, and please do not rezone this for more until we have better infrastructure.
Thank you for your comments. Did we start with 5 or 6 minutes? Okay, all right. You may
can
begin.
proceed?
Sure.
All right, thank you. I now have 1 minute and 43 seconds less than I planned, so I'm going to speak fast.
Well, I'm gonna add another minute to the 3:17, so you got 4:17.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
The first round of applause today. Great. This is my first time being here, so I very respectfully greet each of you and understand that each and every one of you have a very important role in the development and expansion of Knoxville. We have some very pressing issues out west. So while I do serve as president of the board of directors for Jefferson Park, we have 260 homes in there. I am here today as a concerned citizen, husband, and father of 2 young children that navigate a very deadly stretch of road with over 20,000 daily car passes. We have one way in and one way out. If you guys come there, I'm telling you it's dangerous just getting out of our neighborhood. This ain't a joke. I will later articulate an alternate option, but primarily we are here to respectfully request a moratorium on development in this stretch of North Shore, Harvey, and Choteau until the Knox County Commission and Planning Commission not just budget, but rather both bodies approve, adopt, and implement necessary funds to bring much needed, per Larson J, incremental capacity to North Shore, Choteau, and Harvey over a 3-year period as recommended by Larson J. Starting with North Shore, which has over 20,000 daily car passes, and per the Tennessee Department of Transportation, a 38% increase in car accidents in 2022. There were so many that the Knox County Sheriff's Department had to modify the way that they tally car accidents. They now require injury. Okay, so in other words, 2023 data will appear suppressed, okay, versus this. Let's see. That covers that. Core issues. This development, as currently proposed, is detrimental to the character of the area. It is not consistent as currently proposed, okay? And then 2, people are being killed on these roads every year, killed. Public safety is non-existent, and emergency services are unable to access these areas. Power lines go down, trees cross the road, miles and miles and miles of people backed up. People can't get to their families, businesses can't run, folks can't get to the airport, it's bad. Larson J, okay, or it says where it can be shown that approval would have an adverse impact on the character of the neighborhood in which the site is located, y'all can vote this thing down. I'm not saying vote no forever, but just as it's currently proposed, we're asking you that you consider that, and then later we'll propose an alternate. And I'm watching the clock here, so I gotta fly. Stay with me. All right, so Larson J, very graciously, on September 1st of 2023, he sent this letter to Mayor Jacobs, and it cites a 39% increase in car accidents on the North Shore corridor. Daylight hours represented 64%, in clear weather conditions, 71%, and along the roadway not near an intersection, 83%. He further says drivers are traveling at a high rate of speed. With a combination of a narrow roadway, it inevitably leads to an increase in accidents. He then, on the next page, asks Mayor Jacobs to address these concerns. Please add additional roundabouts at North Shore and Charlottesville. Please add additional roundabouts at Montgomery Cove, Bayou Bend, and North Shore. This will provide easier in and out access and safer in and out access for neighborhood residents and serve as a natural slowing at traffic key points where accidents are on the rise. EPW, I'm assuming that's engineering. I'm running out of time. Okay, these folks have looked at this for Larson J. So that he could quantify his recommendation to Mayor Jacobs, and he says it's an estimate of $2 to $4 million of capital in today's dollars, and it would take 1 to 3 years to complete. So this is pretty serious stuff, but I have to move on. Advanced Knox says our population from 2022 over the preceding 40 years has gained nearly 50%, yet we've not kept up with infrastructure. I got to move on. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. Suzanne Russell was killed March 30th of 2022 on a head-on collision, okay, on North Shore. Last month, a gal named Jeanette Gutzman was killed on Choteau, visiting her family for the holidays, okay? You all have the power to vote this thing down with justification because it is not congruent with the character of the area, period. And we ask that you do that simultaneously, conditionally. Alternately acceptable might be 2.5 acres, single family only, predicated on road capacity and infrastructure improvements package immediately budgeted and approved over a 3-year period by all required bodies
If you
for
could
North
wrap
Shore,
up-
Choteau,
If you
and
could wrap
Harvey.
up, please.
What's that?
If you could wrap up, please.
Yes, sir, of course. All right, so, and then segueing into the fact that I do have fiduciary responsibility for the safety of people of Jefferson Park, we respectfully and prayerfully ask for you to consider voting no with justification. We know this is not popular. We're not anti-development, but we have people dying on our roads.
Thank you for your comments. Did we have one other that wanted to speak? If you'll approach the podium.
Thank you.
And we'll extend 1 minute, please.
Okay, I appreciate your consideration. And I'm not opposed to development. I know it's going to happen, and I appreciate your recommendation of 3 per acre without attached dwellings. I want to reiterate what Mike was saying about the predicament that we're in. We're in a situation that's a one-way in, one-way out on North Shore. I don't know how much time you've spent out there, but when the tree fell, we have 2 firefighters in our little fire station there where Choteau Markets is. So say my grandmother fell and they're helping get her off the floor, and then my friend's house catches on fire. There's no way to get a fire truck to the fire because they're attending a first responders thing. Even if the tree wasn't on the floor, on the street, we have to get a fire truck all the way from Campbell Station because the only other way in is a railroad trestle that's 10'7" high, whatever. So you'd have to have, how's an ambulance going to get to us? Where we're going to get another fire truck? That's, you get what I'm saying.
We get your point.
If you've ever been to
sum it up,
Georgia,
please.
you know what I'm saying, to a football game, that's what I'm saying. So, there was something else. Oh, and those children at Northshore Elementary School, right now we have 3 kids per seat in the bus and children sitting in the aisle, and they have had to make an amendment to that to add an additional bus just to get children dropped off. So now they're taking 2 buses down. So that's just a handful of the issues that we're having. So I just appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Counselor, in an effort to give you equal time, if you need 7.5 minutes, you'll get it.
Thank you, Chairman Hill. Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street, here for the applicant. I was only recently retained on this case, and I spent the better part of the morning reading the 565 comments in opposition, most of it in opposition to this. I understand being involved in other projects and on South North Shore and the Choteau area that, there's a lot of opposition to growth and development in that area. When we talk about long-range planning, we talk about, what are the existing sector plans and what does the growth policy plan call for in this area. If you look at, this is, under the growth policy plan, this is planned growth. It will remain planned growth under the draft that was just recommended for approval by the Growth Policy Plan Committee last night as well. And it's the sector plan is designated for low-density residential. My client had asked for 5 dwelling units an acre. Staff had recommended 3 dwelling units an acre. We are in agreement with staff's recommendation on this. If you do a 1-mile radius, you look at the average density of the developments that have been built out in that area, you're looking at about 3.2 dwelling units an acre. So 3 dwelling units an acre is right in line with what has been developed. And we know there are some improvements to South North Shore coming. This property has frontage on both South North Shore and Harvey Lane, and on South North Shore right now it's 20 feet of pavement, but it's within a 70-foot right-of-way, and there's a lot of frontage there where once we get to a development plan phase, once we get to a traffic impact analysis, which will be required, and once we go through that process with engineering public works, there'll be recommendations as to what we need to do to address the impact that we are putting on the infrastructure because of this development. And that's what the standard is what are we causing and how can we mitigate that? And that is another process down the line that'll come back before this body through a development plan with a full traffic impact analysis, with recommended improvements that we would have to participate in as part of this development. So, you know, again, we're one step in the process. This is a piece of property that will be developed at some point, and I think 3 units an acre with this community where this is. West, just west of the roundabout that was placed there at Choteau, which does serve as traffic calming for this stretch of South North Shore. I know South North Shore goes a long way. Jefferson Park's, further down. There's lots of issues along South North Shore, but this stretch right here is an area that's west of an already existing traffic calming device with that roundabout. And we will work with county engineering about what we need to do to improve Harvey Road and South North Shore once we get that traffic impact analysis, once we know what we can do on that property. But, this meets the intent of the planned growth area. This meets the intent of the existing low-density residential sector plan. And, knowing that we're going to have to come back and address these issues with a full development plan in the planned residential zone, we would ask for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Commission? Commissioner Huber.
I think this question is probably directed to Director Snowden or Mr. Elliott, but first off, I mean, I lived in that area for nearly 10 years, and I do understand. I don't currently live out there, but I did live out there for almost 10 years, and very familiar with the roads. And they get a little challenging in areas. There has been a lot of growth. But Director Snowden or Steve, can you guys speak to the accident percentage or the amount of accidents? I mean, we heard some information from Mike Podesta about some of that. Can you expand on that?
Sure, be glad to. Commissioner Huber, Jim Snowden, Engineering Director, Ross County. In preparation of this, obviously saw all these comments, so we kind of pulled some of this information for the benefit of this body. And we kind of broke North Shore down into 2 sections, really from Harvey from Harvey to Choteau, and then from Choteau to Concord, because there are kind of 2 distinct areas. The traffic volumes are different, the crash rates are different. On the particular section here from Harvey to Choteau, the traffic volume is quite a bit less. It's roughly 4,800 cars a day. The crash rate there, to give you an instance, the last 3 years, there's been 19 crashes on that stretch of roadway. That correlates to a crash rate that's less than statewide average. So the state has a calculation for, the type of road, the number of, because obviously the number of crashes is not really an indicator. It's more of the rate that's applied to the volume. So, there's not really anything that we would consider to be a causative factor here in that particular area because the crash rate is lower than the statewide average. On the section to the east of there, obviously a much busier section. Carries between 12 and 17,000 cars a day as you go closer to the roundabout at Concord. Obviously, a lot more crashes there, 103. That crash rate is a little elevated. It's above the statewide average. And in response to that, and in some of the advanced NOx meetings we had, a lot of conversation about that. We are going to modernize that section. When I say modernize, we're not necessarily going to widen, from 2 lanes to 4. But we are, as you all know out there, there's lack of shoulders. We want to improve those things because as traffic grows through there, we want to make sure those roadsides are very forgiving should someone get forced off the road. And that process is being designed now. Mayor Jacobs and Commissioner Schoonmaker were advocates for that project. We anticipate starting construction on that, if not late this year, next year. And we'll be adding shoulders and a little bit wider lanes in that area to obviously get that crash rate back down below that statewide average that we want to make sure of. So hopefully that's helpful. I'll be happy to provide any more insight, but that's kind of a brief synopsis of what we discovered.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Barger.
I may be putting the cart in front of the horse here, but would this development empty out on both South North Shore and Harvey? Bueller.
I didn't know who the question was directed from, and we have
Anybody?
access to both South North Shore and Harvey. We don't have a development plan. I anticipate that there will be access to Harvey and North Shore, but I don't know that until we actually sit down and do the engineering. But once we do that, there'll be a traffic impact analysis, what the flows are, and then what improvements we may need to participate in on both of those roads.
Okay, I've driven on Harvey a lot, and it's real skinny, so.
I understand.
Real skinny. And then for Director Snowden, the improvements that are going to be made on North Shore, is that, or South North Shore, is that from Concord to Harvey, or is that just the part between Concord and Shodo?
Just from Concord to Shodo right now, because that's where we identified the crash problems based on the higher volumes there, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Commission?
I've got another question for engineering, if you don't mind too. Just looking at, and I appreciate, because it certainly needs that widening from the Chodo roundabout all the way up to Concord Road up there. Gosh, I remember way back in the day, some of the folks here might remember it when there used to just be that flashing yellow light at Chodo Road and Northshore Drive. That was a serious lot of fatalities there. But over time, infrastructure improvements have come. They don't come as fast as we all like them to sometimes, but they do come. So I'm glad to hear that there is some improvements happening from the Chodo roundabout up. But specifically with respect to the area between Harvey Road and Chodo Road, can you speak to a standard for what a Knox County road looks like, or what are the minimums? What do you like to see on the width of the road and the striping and that type of thing?
Yeah, that section I would imagine somewhere around 20 feet wide. For a 20-foot wide road, we certainly want to see center and edge line striping. And typically, we look at, you kind of look at volume versus width. Rural road capacity is kind of a tricky thing to really get your head wrapped around, but we feel like, that width of volume, or that width of road is reasonable to accommodate that, 5,000 to 6,000 cars a day. Now, obviously, as that traffic grows, we may have to approach this location much like we did to the one to the east and make some improvements. But at this point in time, we feel like the traffic volume and the existing configuration of the road is reasonable, and that's bore out through the crash rate that shows that it is below statewide average.
Last year,
Yeah, Mr. Chair. The applicant's counsel mentioned that County Commission last night approved the advanced NOx, the first draft step of it, which talks about the urban growth boundary. I can't imagine how many hours, countless hours have been poured into that with consultants and such, and public meetings about where that urban growth boundary would be, and to try to protect the rural areas outside that boundary. Hasn't been finalized yet, but it was approved as a draft last night. We've seen a lot of applicants today ask for, upwards in 4 and 5 per the acre on Sam Lee Road, Maynardville Highway. That's all inside that growth boundary. As staff suggests, this is, in the low density residential sector plan that would afford up to the 5. I'm really, quite frankly, surprised that this developer is only asking for 3. I'm not saying I would have voted for any more than that, but I think that Commissioner Schoonmaker, who is in that district, and other folks probably can breathe a little easier that this developer is asking for 3 instead of 5, and have a shot at working with the Highway Department and other folks on traffic plans as you get traffic study requirements with concept plans. So I think I'm going to make a motion that we approve the planned residential zone at the 3 per the acre per staff recommendation.
Second.
all right, we've got a motion to approve planned residential zone up to 3 dwelling units per acre per staff recommendation by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Huber. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.